The energy trilemma, green energy, cheap energy and firm energy, is not a simple thing to solve. And we will make a disorderly transition to a renewable economy, that is true. One of the most critical things that we have to remember is in order for Australia to be a world leader in this category, we're going to have to not only have renewable energy, but we will need firm baseload energy.
Welcome. How big is NEXTDC's forward order book?
It's bigger than the whole company today.
Really?
So over the course of the next 2 years, we have an enormous construction and development program to build all of the digital infrastructure that will deliver artificial intelligence. That is going to more than double the size of the company in the next 2 years.
NEXTDC currently operates 17 data centres in Australia. How many more do you see yourself operating?
I think the answer to that question is how big will artificial intelligence and cloud computing continue to be? There's no end in sight. If you look at NVIDIA's forecasts, OpenAI and others that are building artificial intelligence, the estimate is somewhere in the order of $3 to $4 trillion will be invested in the next few years. This is the single greatest infrastructure transformation in history.
Atlassian's co-founder Scott Farquhar wants Australia to become a data centre hub for Asia. Why does it matter where data centres are located, whether it be here or overseas?
I think Scott's work and his comments at the press club were really important for what Australia could be in the future. If you think about the success that we have experienced mining and exporting resources, Australia's in the position it is today because of that extraordinary mining history. But we actually have an opportunity for the future of mining to be about mining of data, the production of intelligence, because Australia has land, power, skilled resources, the ability to be able to deliver infrastructure on scale. We also have Five Eyes security status. We have trusted security partners globally. We have a firm and clear regulatory landscape. I think we have all the ingredients that we need for Australia to be an exporter of tokens and an exporter of intelligence.
When it comes to energy use, given the growing pressure on the grid to electrify, should data centres be located in areas where they can power themselves or use renewable energy entirely?
Data centres, it's like using the analogy for transport. There's many, many different kinds. Planes, trains, buses, cars. So the first thing to understand about data centres is there are many different types. Hyperscale and artificial intelligence, which do huge computing. Then we have metropolitan data centres that live around us, and they support low latency connections for cloud, hospitals, any of our online media services that are need to be delivered within milliseconds. Then we have edge data centres where cable landing stations we build in Darwin, the Sunshine Coast, in remote locations to support the mining industry, people like BHP. So there are many different types of data centres, but they do need to live in and around our communities because they provide different services. A lot of them are latency sensitive and security sensitive.
So you're saying that they're not all the same and therefore their power needs are different?
Two primary pieces of the digital infrastructure puzzle are energy and water. Now, when we build a large-scale data centre today, they are 10 times bigger than they used to be. And that's because you and I use online services. We watch Netflix, we listen to Spotify, we take ABC on demand. We do all of those things that need information to be stored and shared. But the key driver is the amount of computing that we're using today is 10 times greater. It's an order of magnitude more than it was a decade ago. And if you look at NVIDIA's forecast for rack density for GPUs to serve artificial intelligence, that will be 10 to 100 times greater in the next 3 to 5 years. So we will use more, but Moore's law has been true for a long time, price performance doubling of integrated circuits. We get more power and the cost continues to go down. So power is important, but we're getting more of it and it's costing less.
But it's still a drain on finite resources.
The thing to think about is that the data centre isn't the user, isn't the driver of consumption, the users are. Planes wouldn't fly if passengers didn't sit in those seats, And computers don't get used if we don't consume the services. So in order to have a modern society and provide all of those services that we have come to rely on day in and day out, there are always trade-offs in any infrastructure investment, and data centres are no different to any other infrastructure piece that we need in our communities.
Does that mean we should all be taking responsibility for how we're starting to dabble in AI, and perhaps consider whether data and data storage is simply priced too cheaply right now?
I think the opportunity, if you think about the consumer services that are available to us for those people that are using artificial intelligence today, many questions about what will it mean for the future of jobs, what happens to productivity. I think AI was a big feature, obviously, of the Treasurer's Economic Roundtable. What does it mean for the future of jobs? These are all important questions, but I would have sort of one overarching statement, and that is that if you look at history, every time we've had a massive change, industrial revolution, if we've been able to take that new technology, improve productivity and drive new outcomes, the artificial intelligence era will make us more productive as a society. It will solve medical and other problems that have never been solved. So the opportunity is far greater than the downside.
But should we be planning to build a greater power capacity than we currently are?
The energy trilemma, green energy, cheap energy and firm energy, is not a simple thing to solve. And we will make a disorderly transition to a renewable economy. That is true. One of the most critical things that we have to remember is, in order for Australia to be a world leader in this category, we're going to have to not only have renewable energy, but we will need firm baseload energy. At the same time, we have to retire coal-fired power stations and gas and make that transition, deploy large-scale batteries, and really consider other future baseload energy technologies that are net zero. And that means that our thinking around the future of energy in the next decade will have to change.
On water, why do so many data centres, not all, but many of them, draw from drinking water supplies?
Because 10 years ago, data centres weren't a particularly big infrastructure asset, and the amount of water that they used was quite small. Water is not good or bad. The way to think about water is, when you use water, it's 3,000 to 3,000 times more efficient as a form of heat rejection than using air. So some of our data centres, we use zero water, but they'll use more power to provide cooling. Some of our data is where we can use water, where we have access to it. We use water because it provides a much lower operating cost. In environments where we build in Darwin and the Pilbara, Kuala Lumpur, where it's very hot, we don't use water. That 40-degree days, but they are expensive to operate. In places like Japan, earthquake, you don't use water. But in areas where we can get recycled water. So one of the things working with the Min's government now is us getting a recycled watering agreement to build this digital infrastructure using sewer mining agreements.
And so should you be able to use recycled water at every data centre you build from now on?
I see no reason why we can't achieve that. Having access to be able to do sewer mining means that 95% of the water can be recycled and used. I think that's a great opportunity for us to be able to be a global leader in digital infrastructure and a sustainability leader as well.
Really interesting to talk to you. Craig Scroggie, thank you.
Thanks.